Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding. My man.
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
Welcome to the PP1 Podcast.
Love that intro every single time. Gets me right in the feels. Gets me in the feels. You know, this isn't just like a feel-good intro. It's not a feel-good show. It's a feel-good show because I've got a good friend. We've never met in person. We were really close. In fact, meters away, it feels like. You may know him as Canuck Clay or the guy on the billboard across from Rogers Arena, which is, some kind of a flex, I suppose. Clay Imoo, how are you doing? Welcome to the show again. It's been a minute. How are you doing?
Ryan, thanks for having me, man. Yes, that video was pretty good. I hope Teddy's good. I want to get a Teddy update from you in a second. But overall, thrilled to be here. Yes, for you being on one of my shows. Since then, we were this close to meeting in person in Disneyland over the Christmas break. We somehow both made it out of Vancouver, out of that horrendous snowstorm, and basking in the California sun, but it wasn't meant to be. It's just going to make our eventual meeting that much sweeter, man.
You know what? I hear Kelowna is just as nice as Los Angeles or Anaheim. So really, maybe we'll save it for a little bit more intimate, interactive kind of patio beers and that sort of thing. So, I mean, hey, would have been cool to share a beer with yourself or hang out, but sometimes it's just not to be, like you said. So,
love it. And how's Teddy doing?
So, update to everybody: Ted is doing well. I spoke to him a couple of days ago. We're going to hopefully hang out next week on week 2 of spring break. He's doing good. He's still getting through some stuff. I mean, his body went through a catastrophic event, not just the valve replacement, but the fact, his chest needed to be, kind of stretched apart of ribs and such. So you can imagine that that's no easy task to recover from. I mean, you and I both have wives and we both have children. I talked to my wife about this about a week ago, and when you have a child, it's not like you just pop back and you're ready to go tomorrow. It's a pretty heavy event to go through, in that case, a child. But in Ted's case, with his heart, he just, little things are kind of, they can be a task for things that you and I are used to doing and that he's used to doing. A little bit of a struggle here and there. And I think we were just kind of talking, like putting not your pride to the side, but, being a little bit humbled and knowing, like, hey, asking for help on the things like as easy as reaching for something in the top cupboard or going grocery shopping and being like winded already, or just the little things we take for granted. So he is doing well. But like I said, he's recovering from a huge life event for his family, for his body as well. But he's in good spirits. Like I said, hopefully I get to share a beer with him soon enough. But we're gonna wait on that. And then, like I said, I'll hopefully have another update next week. I do want to bring up, and I appreciate you bringing up Ted. Another good friend of the show, good friend of mine and Ted's as well, our friend Whit Penner. He's going through basically the struggle of his life right now. He had penile cancer, which is exactly as it sounds. So he had Mr. Johnson removed, and he's open to talk about it. So he's got a Facebook group, and we've been chatting back and forth, and we'll have him on the show to talk about it. I think we're at that point. Like I said, it's our show. We can do whatever the heck we want. So he's going through some stuff. He's going through some chemo. He showered the other day and he kind of wiped off, and like his beard basically came off. He just had a haircut last week, so he's going through some stuff. We love you, Whit. A big proponent of like the BC ball hockey and Kelowna ball hockey. He helped get me on the Play On shirt a few years ago when I was like a co-sponsor, if you will, of the Play On tournament in Kelowna. Just had to blog about the tournament. That's easy. I love talking. I love hockey. So he's been a big fan. He's also an industry partner in the building industry, so we get to see each other on a bunch of work events and stuff. So he's going through some stuff, and I mean, cancer's it's no small feat. And I know, Whit, you're going to beat this, and you've got a lot of people in your corner. So big shout out to our boy Whit Penner. We're rooting for you, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it's stuff, life events, right?
No, it's crazy. It's so crazy, Ryan, because with Ted and with Whit and just probably dozens of stories we don't know about or people don't want public. It, not to get all philosophical right off the bat, but it kind of makes a hockey team that's struggling to find their identity or trying to make the playoffs or looking for next year. Yeah, we're big fans, but it really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It's I mean, we do a silly podcast, and this is I think this is our escape for the most part. And I think for a lot of people, sports or music or art or meditation, or everybody's got something to get away. Like for Ted, like his getaway was working out and like going to the gym, and not that he's like a gym rat or anything, but that was like his escape when he just needed to clear his head. Well, when you have heart surgery, you can't exactly go and work out. So for him, that was a bit of a struggle. So I mean, thankfully, I can be right beside him and not work out. So that's great. But everybody's got their escape, and I think for us, sometimes sports is a nice one where we can forget about reality for a minute, and because I think sometimes it's a little bit too real.
Yeah.
And I mean, thankfully, we get to talk. I mean, we'll talk a little bit of Canucks tonight. I promise everyone. At some point, we will talk about the team that disappoints us every single year. But you're right. Sometimes it's nice to get into these sorts of things. Clay, you've been a busy guy. Like I said, you've got the billboard thing that's going quite well. I mean, it's Pepsi too. Thank goodness it's not Coke.
Of course. Yeah. Why would I do that?
I mean, if they came to you, I'm sure you would have said yes. But like, if it was Coke, what do you say? What do you say?
Truly, why would I lie to you and your viewers? No, I would do it too, because it's not like the Pepsi or the Canucks paid me anything, so it's fine. It was an agreement of exposure. I got a new jersey out of it, a free jersey and a
Perfect.
Pepsi Lululemon top, so it's all good.
Hey, why not?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get healthier, but Pepsi, Coke doesn't matter to me. Trying to drink less of it during Lent until Easter, trying to get better habits. But yeah, it could be anything, and I'll be on a billboard for anything, basically.
You know what? I think we're both in that boat. I mean, we will flog ourselves out there for absolutely. Yes. I mean, sometimes just as simple like, hey, like we'll get you on the evening news. I'm good with that. Let's make that happen.
There you go.
I had a couple things in here. I've got my like neat little rundown. I just, we get our podcast stats every week, right? I'm sure you do as well. Like, how are your numbers in Taiwan doing?
Well, I think I peaked in my very first week. So in all seriousness, I get those numbers. The Canadian one, I think I barely even register. And truly mine's a YouTube show that I throw up on a podcast, and it's fine. I will look at the numbers, not every day, but once in a blue moon. But let's just say, I think Canuck Clay is more of a hit in Hong Kong than it is in Canada. In Canada, for sure. Yeah.
So our Taiwan numbers we get like every week, right?
Yeah.
On like the pod, whatever it is, the app. It's an Apple chart.
Yeah.
And I look, and like we're always in like the 20s and 30s. I'm like, it's either really great or really like I'm not sure how to, is that really awesome? And I think it is awesome. At the same time, like, wow, like I almost have to look at that chart and be like, who are we actually beating? Because I mean, that's I look at Canucks Conversation, the Sakaris and Price, and all that.
Canucks Central, you got it.
Yeah, we're beating. If we're beating one of those shows, I'm always happy. Like it's just one of those things. I always get a laugh. I think we topped out at one like a couple years ago, like on one random week. I'm like, okay, we're doing something well. I'm like, we've never been there since. Okay, we got some work to do.
And you got again perspective. 20th in Taiwan could be 3 listeners, where I'm not saying it is, whereas 20th in Canada, probably you got to get to like 100 listeners, whatever.
Exactly. I don't know what the numbers are. Total listens ever might get us there 1 week. So, you never know. Sometimes we're just looking for a spot. We've got a bunch of things. I've got some fun stuff planned for tonight. Obviously Canucks we're going to get into. I always kind of get into Scott Rintoul and I chatted about this. I think was it last week or the week before?
Yeah, that was a good show. That was really good.
Man, I love chatting with that guy. Like
He's a pro. He's a pro.
He's got it all going on. He's fun. Like he's witty. He's on the cusp of, you got something, he's ready to go. So I drive around a lot for my work. I sell flooring, so I'm traveling around town. And I see a lot of stuff on the road. So this is I'm always looking for something, and usually just presents itself to me. And this one I noticed yesterday. I was up in the Upper Mission area, and right now it's spring. I'm assuming it's spring in Vancouver.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you've seen a few of these. The street sweepers out in Vancouver lately. Are they out and about?
Yep.
Okay. So they're in Kelowna, little smaller area. As you can imagine, when you see these street sweepers, yeah, sometimes they're not in the best place and they're at the worst time as well. So I'm coming down one of the main stretches, and there's I would say a trail of 6 or 7 vehicles behind this one street sweeper. And this guy is collecting a ton of dirt, which means huge dirt cloud right behind. Well, there's this sedan, I would say 6 feet, which is way too close to this guy anyway. And he's sitting 6 feet behind this vehicle or behind the street sweeper. And I'm just laughing. If you guys just don't move for a minute, you can get around this guy and everybody can bypass. Clearly, you're going to get your car absolutely filthy. And then I started thinking, and I'm like, Ryan, I think you're a philosopher. Maybe this is what's the word I'm looking for? A comparison to the Canucks, where we're all sitting behind this street sweeper and all this dust. And maybe if the Canucks just waited it out for a minute and they get, they wait for kind of the dirt to start moving a little bit ahead, we can actually get around and progress. And I thought, this might have been one of my brightest moments in my life. And then I thought, that's sad. That's also sad. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, you're the first person to analogize. I think that's the word you're looking for.
I think that's the word. Yes.
The Canucks to a street sweeper. And I think you intentionally did that on.
And that is at the 12-16 point. Okay, perfect.
You did that on the eve of a Philip Hronek debut tomorrow. And
yes.
And it's kind of funny because I'm actually going to the game tomorrow. I'm excited to see him play because he could be the right shot defenseman that this regime and the previous regime have been missing all along. He could very well be that. And of course, the debate that we've had in the past 3 weeks is, but did we have to do it now and at what cost? So independent of that, I admit it. I'm excited to see him play and I want to see what he can do. But yes, I think we're always going to have this debate between the tankists and the retoolers and the rebuilders and blah, blah. It's not even a shtick when I say this whole positivity thing. I'm optimistic. I can't wait for that day where we're contending and we're actually pushing to a conference final and then an ultimate return to the Stanley Cup final. And I get that that's what all Canucks fans want. It's just all Canucks fans have a different way of getting there. But I think this year, Ryan, you'd agree, this is the one year where you'd say, no matter how optimistic or pessimistic you are, this is the one year where we actually had a legitimate chance of at least helping our chances. We know how lottery works. There's no guarantees at all. But this is the one year where you actually could help change that narrative a little bit. And I don't say it's the most Canuck thing to do. I'm not that kind of whatever.
It kind of is, though.
Yeah, no, I know.
I know where you're going, but it kind of is.
It is. The fact that they're going to finish 8th, 9th, or 10th from the bottom instead of 5th, that's not insignificant, for sure.
Yeah. It's, I mean, it's still, I've been trying to come to terms with how things are, and we'll get into this because I kind of have, I think, a bullet point on this. I've been trying to come to terms with what the Canucks are exactly and what they've been. And I think a couple of years ago, we all thought there's no way by this point, they're already going to be on the upswing. There's no way that when Connor Bedard becomes available, that they're going to be. And sure enough, they get there and then they don't. And then we all say, okay, obviously. Now, there are a few other players that are, I mean, they're not Bedard, but there's some pretty amazing talent in that next couple picks. Again, not a generational talent. It looks like I'm losing my Wi-Fi. That's cool.
Still can hear you good. You're good.
There you go. Perfect. That's all that matters on the audio side.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to have the kid from Vancouver as a Canuck, the next McDavid, Crosby, Ovechkin, whatever you want to call it. And it does kind of suck that we're going to miss that again. Hey, maybe maybe it's in the cards, as people say, that somehow they fluke out and all of this is for naught. And, we're celebrating the streets. This would be about as close to a Stanley Cup as we may see for a while, unfortunately. But you never know. Maybe they somehow get the second pick even, and
Yep.
like if Fantilli's available. I'm still saying if they're around the 8th to 10th, there's this kid in Kelowna that's playing really well. He's a winger. I know Ted's not here to shoot me down. So, Andrew Crystal may be available.
I've seen him as ranked as high as number 7 or something. He's not a big Crystal fan.
We've had some discussions about BPA, and sometimes it's maybe best defenseman available, and I agree on those. I'm a big fan of defensemen being on the team. I'm not a fan of defensemen in general because it's the one position I hate, and yet all my favorite players seems to be defensemen on the Canucks. I don't know why. Like Willie Mitchell was my favorite Canucks defenseman. Made no sense. All of a sudden, Quinn Hughes gets here. We've had Bieksa. I'm always wondering, like, why do I love these guys and yet I hate the position? Like, it's conflicting. Like,
well, let's take a winger with our first pick, and then we'll take 5, 6 defensemen after that. How's that?
You know what? If we have that many picks, then I'm all for it. I should mention as well, because I'm already like 15 minutes in here, that we are on Facebook Live. You can comment along on YouTube as well. Looks like the Crier Media Twitch page, by the way, we're presented on Crier Media proudly. We've been in the long grind, and things are really going well with Crier Media. So please check us out on all those accounts. I got a good one for you. We've got a lot of Canucks stuff, and I think we're going to fit it all in time. Now, this is going to be a good one, and I hope I surprise you and get a good laugh out of you. But I'm going to read this out as soon as it comes up. Let's check this out. I'm sure you know what this looks like, Clay. Select all the squares with the real Canucks. If there are none, click skip. So we've seen this on the reCaptcha, right? We've all seen this. Is there a real Canucks in that, or am I hitting skip?
A real Canucks. That is good. I'm just looking at this. That is pretty funny, actually.
So, like, is there were the real Canucks with Bruce? Were they with Rick Tocchet? Are we looking at a sad Brock Besser? How about OEL? Are we Elias Pettersson? Are we Demko? What are our Canucks right now? Because
the Kuzmenko and Quinn one at the bottom in the middle, that one drew my eyes for some reason. Like it's Kuzmenko happy-go-lucky, even though he got benched for the game yesterday.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
You have Quinn, who's everyone's lauding his leadership and how calm and cool he is. So to me, that actually speaks. That would be my top 3 of these real Canucks. But how can you not go with Petey in the middle? Just
I didn't even plan it to be that. I had to rescale this like 10 times to just put it into. I've got one for Twitter that'll scale a lot better.
Okay, I appreciate the effort. Yeah, that was good. I like that. That was good.
Yeah, I just figure, like what are the Canucks? I'm one of those witty guys, and I'm always trying to make the show interesting. I thought, are which are any of these the real Canucks, and which one would we click on? And I think you're probably right. I think it is like that Quinn and Kuzmenko. Like there is some hope there. There is a future I think that we can see. I just don't know how much we can actually commit to that. So anyway,
I like that. Good job.
Yeah. So you're rocking all your skate gear. You've got the the locker tab there. I think I need to get myself one of those. Can you buy those on the website?
No. So this one, it was a gift from the team because I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but in essence, it was a gift from the team for a focus group they had me take part in. How's that? Yeah.
Look at this. HSM Fangirl Gaming, only viewer on YouTube. You know what? 1 is more than 0.
Yep. Yeah.
1 is more than 0. I got to start from the bottom and work up.
Yeah, and they get all their numbers in Taiwan, anyways, on their podcast.
Exactly. Like you guys should see. Maybe for all I know, someone is sharing the stream somewhere. We appreciate the fact you're even watching. So thank you.
Thank you, Fangirl. Yes, that's awesome.
So I'm looking at all your skate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I brought this up with Ted probably last year and earlier this year and probably the year before as a distraction that would fool us all for a little bit so we could get away from, as I brought this up earlier, the reality. Do you think the skate jersey has been enough of a distraction this year?
Ryan, this is so
Loaded
funny.
question, hey?
No, it's so loaded for so many reasons. Some of them I'll tell you as soon as we press the off air button. I
Yeah,
promise.
okay, gotcha. Fair enough. I like this. See, this is what I'm gonna keep recording, everybody. So don't worry about it.
I will say this. I did know, I think we can say this. Anyone can say this, that it was a pretty good. It got people talking, the whole Free the Skate campaign, and we had people coming up with their own conspiracy theories and tracking all these hints and clues and blah blah blah. And I can say that I know the team had this plan for a long time, and they were very well aware that it might come out as a way to distract people from. Remember, middle of January, how poorly the team was doing, right? So let's that's the part that I can talk to you more about off air. On air, I will say that if we believe that they've had this in the plans for more than a year and it was just bad timing, especially you might remember, Ryan, the day that they released it, it was the night that the Gino passed away on the weekend. So they even had to, my understanding is they had to revamp some of their plans too to honor Gino more than Free the Skate. But if you remember, those happened on the same night, the Wednesday night in February against Tampa Bay. So
I mean, kind of fitting though too, right? I mean,
totally.
It was unplanned, and at the same time, another, not a tribute, but it had that feel good moment that at the very least, like that was the jersey. I mean, he came in with, and that we all remember Gino for.
Yeah. So to answer, I think your question, truly, all jokes aside, is a very good question. Imagine if the Canucks were 10 points greater in the standings. They're actually fighting for that wild card spot, and it would be an exciting time. We'd say, "Oh, the skate has propelled us to this battle," or whatever it may be. So was it a bit of a distraction? I don't think as negatively as some people might think. I think they were a victim of bad timing for sure, because the team wasn't playing well, and they just made their coaching change and all that. But for me, I like it regardless of what campaign they had planned or not planned. It's always been my favorite jersey, and that's why you see it all over the place. My picture, my name bar, whatever it may be. But no, I could objectively say that maybe it's been a bit of a distraction, but it's not meant to be in a negative way. It was more of a function of poor timing. I still like it when I see it on the ice, but it's funny. We've seen it so much now that I also don't mind it when they don't wear it
down too.
Yeah. What do you think?
We know how that
you like
works.
It? Yeah.
You know what? It's the when it came out, I think now me personally, I wasn't, what would you call it? I wasn't a fan of it. The initial release of what it was, because it got rid of, the white that was in the logo. And as a purist, if you will, I think it was a tough sell immediately. But also, I guess when you think about it, and I think Ted brought this up as well, when the stick jersey got re-released with the patch logo, that was like, I think everyone loved that logo right away, and it became an awesome jersey. And I had to really think and dig down, because I love the skate. It's my favorite logo. It's what I grew up with. It's what I became a Canucks fan through. And I think it was just a tough sell because it wasn't what they could have done. They could have easily just re-released the old one and everything would have been fine. They had to put their own spin on it, and I get that. And it's taken some time, but yeah, I do like it. I think it's just took me a little bit of time to accept that I liked it. I mean, I hated the salmon skate jersey to begin with. Now I own one. So,
what player do you have? What player do you have?
It's blank. It's still holding blank. I've now that I've gotten out of the jersey game, I'm not investing as much money into my jerseys anymore. So Jersey City was a great run for all of us, but I do have to invest more wisely, like a new baseball glove or new Nikes or stuff that I don't need. Is okay. So maybe I'm not. Maybe I haven't moved on.
You're a father and a husband. You can't just spend on a whim anymore. You have other people to think about now.
See, I've been doing that, and I have this pair of Nikes sitting in my checkout. So I've been doing that, and the last time I had this same thought, those shoes passed me by, and I regretted it. So this weekend, while my wife and daughter are away, I will be purchasing those, and they will show up in 4 weeks, and it'll be great. Even though I've already been giving the blessing to buy them, that's not the point. I just feel guilty anyway because that's just how my conscience works. So
Oh, I love it. And here, me, the guy who went from 1 pair of season tickets to 3 pairs, thinking that Canucks were gonna do good things this year. But thank
but
God
you
I
can
was able
still
to.
you can still sell them. I see you trying to sell them out there, give them
Yeah,
away.
yeah,
We're the
yeah.
same way. We're the same way. Like
I
now, a
know.
little scaled down. We're in Kelowna, so we have
Yeah,
our
yeah.
Rockets, but there's going to be tickets that are going to be coming up soon in our row beside my dad,
Oh,
his 2 seats. So so we're going to buy the 3rd seat beside. There's
nice.
5 in the row. We may eventually own the whole row. We'll see. But
There you
it's
go.
the same thing. We don't need them, but I
Yep.
mean, to have a 3rd and to be able to take both kids or someone and their friend, or I don't know. So we all do it because we love the team and
Yep.
sure, and that support, blah 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 blah. It's like, actually I just want another Canucks ticket because why not?
Exactly.
So
Well, let me know how that goes.
speaking of Canucks jerseys, I feel like I was on a roll when I was writing all this stuff. You heard the news. Wyatt Arndt heard the news. Anybody that is listening to the show or watching knows where I'm going with this. Fanatics is going to be the new jersey supplier for the on-ice NHL product starting next season. And that means it's not the replicas.
Mhm.
That means it will be used on ice. As far as fan apparel goes, I think there's a ton of companies. Again, having worked in sports retail, there's a lot of companies that have stuff out there, the ones you'd never expect to be licensed. And, I know Fanatics has made a real big push in the last probably 6-7 years or so, maybe a bit more. And now they get their big chance to be on the big stage with the NHL. Somehow Nike isn't there, which really
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Adidas, okay, they had their run. Reebok didn't want to do it anymore. I
Mhm.
get that. I don't know. That Fanatics, like, really, like, a retailer is getting the premier spot for jerseys. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's funny. You kind of summed up my feelings from a standpoint of which one doesn't fit in, which one is not like the other. Reebok, Adidas, Fanatics. Like it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right.
It
And
doesn't check the boxes for me.
and quite frankly, I'm not a big jersey guy. People on my show know that I have a decent eye. I think I know what I like, but I'm not into the accuracy or the quality. But I do understand the angst and why everyone's so mad. So they have a chance, I guess, to try and reverse. They must know the reputation that's out there, and they have
Yeah.
a chance to do some good by it. But I don't know. Like this is the one thing that it's funny. I purport to be such a big fan of this team, and the jersey is such a huge part of my identity of a team. But it's actually the one thing that I don't say I don't care about. I don't really notice. So I understand the angst. I know that we hear about all these funny stories of them getting people's orders wrong, or things don't look right.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just more of a reputation thing when you compare it to the big dogs out there in terms of manufacturing. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to see Fanatics do, and I think this can hit a broader market than the jersey market. I've sold those name and number tees. I sold them for 10 years. They were $30. If you went to the team store, they were like 35. I get it. You get a better selection of names and numbers,
Sure.
right? Let's get those shirts back down to like 30 or $32. They are not 40 and 45 and $50 a piece. It's the same cotton that they've been selling for years. It's the same screen print that they've been doing for years. You cannot tell me, because I know, because we get all of our own crap made. You cannot tell me that those shirts are worth whatever the cost is and that you have to up it. And knowing that bulk buying, you get a better quantity deal. So you're trying to tell me, and you're trying to fool all of the fans, that these t-shirts are a $40 sell. No, 45 even, I'm sure, at the team store. Not a chance. That doesn't work with me. You guys can make some fans happy, and I think you can weasel your way into the back door of our hearts by like giving us like a peace offering, basically. Like, we don't have to like it, but give us that at least. Give the vast majority of the people that all we really want is a t-shirt. I can't wear jerseys as much anymore. There's not a lot of occasions where I can make that work, but I can wear a t-shirt every single day in the wintertime, in the summertime. Exactly. So let's give that to us. Give us the cheaper t-shirt.
It's so funny you say that because when I have a lot of t-shirts, but I never buy them regular price. I always wait for the 2-for-1 or the
That's
Boxing Day
smart.
sale.
That's
Yeah.
smart.
And even this one, this is
Mhm.
actually the Free the Skate night. I wasn't at
Yes.
that game. It was my church night, but they dropped it from the ceiling. My son Sean actually caught it, and he told me he promised they did not rip it away from a more deserving young kid. So Sean caught this, but it's a large. I wear large because I'm a big fat guy. He's medium because he's actually built. So he gave it to me and as a nice little gift. So again, but because it was free, so I'm with you. I'm with you. I
There you
don't
go.
spend full price for those things, although some of them do look nice. But I'm a very patient person.
Hey, you know what? I'm a big fan of deals. I am. Is it frugal? I think is the proper word. I
We have to be.
understand
We're
that.
dads, man. We have to be.
I was that way before. If I
Okay.
know that I can get the same pair of pants from Old Navy that Lululemon is selling, I'll get them at Old Navy. I don't need the clout. I'm wearing some Old Navy joggers right now. They cost me $30. The same ones at Lululemon were like 60 or 70. Actually, I think they're like 100. Guess what? These are
What?
pretty comfortable. And I bought
Yeah.
2 colors.
And thank you for
I'm
wearing.
smart.
Thank you for telling everyone that you're wearing pants. That's good.
I am wearing pants. I was gonna wear pajama pants. I don't even know if you're wearing pants, to be honest.
I'm not, but I'm wearing shorts. So I just got to clarify that.
That was a quick little like just in case anyone's wondering. Like again, 3101. Okay, we're gonna click that. Perfect. I feel like we should be talking about actual hockey. We've had some fun. We've had some
Yep.
fun. Did you? And now I don't know. Are you a baseball fan, Clay?
No, I understand the game, but no, I'm not a huge fan.
Okay.
But I did know what happened yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. So last night was the championship game for the baseball classic, World Baseball
Yeah.
Classic, Japan versus USA. Surprise, surprise. And it came down to actually the top of the ninth because Japan was leading.
Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani comes out of the bullpen, which is the weirdest thing to say, to face his teammate eventually, Mike Trout, top of 9. They needed 1 run to tie. Now, Mike Trout, like Barry Bonds, he's got a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah.
And you still want your best on best. Sure enough, K's him. Japan wins. Great finish, but great theater as well. And I'm going to save up for a Canucks jersey before the deal is over so I can have one. I think that's a smart move. It's still the same team. Hopefully it's a player that you still like, fangirl, because, I've made that mistake as well a few times. I mean, I guess get whoever you like. If you like JT Miller and he gets traded per se, you still like JT Miller. I've got a Todd Bertuzzi. I've got a Jarkko Ruutu, actually.
I have a
you know
David
what?
Booth.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you got it because you. But you know what? You got it because you wanted it. It's not
Yeah.
like you're gonna be like, well, I guess because he's a trader. Like, you've committed to putting a name and number on that jersey. Just own it. So it's a
Yep,
lot
I
easier
hear
when
you.
you get national jerseys because, well, they're always going to be that nationality. So, anyway, what I was getting to, how is the NHL or in the Players Association? I get there's insurance reasons and that they don't want to get people injured, but we're missing out on some of the best players not playing in a best on best tournament. Like the World Cup. At first, I liked the idea, then I hated it. Still thought Olympics was like the purest best on best, but it really isn't. When they went to the World Cup, they really did have the best on best. There were no, lower tiered countries that are trying to struggle and get in there. They kind of were, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was 8 of the best countries and their best talent playing against each other. And even the final was a best of 3. So when are they going to make that the tournament that we get to watch again? Because I know they've flirted with it, but
Yeah.
it feels like there's just something that they can't get over. Like Connor McDavid. I mean, I'm sure you saw his goal. Maybe you didn't tonight. Little off the back, little play there. Or a guy like Connor Bedard, or Tage Thompson, or Trevor Zegras. All these players. There's so much talent in the NHL right now, and there always has been. We deserve to have a best on best tournament that isn't the Stanley Cup. That's something we can put to the side and we can keep going with hockey year round.
I'm with you, man. And by the way, I get my camera's flashing low battery, so I may have to switch soon. But
That's
just be
okay.
prepared.
I'll know if you phase out. I'll just bring you some cool story about why you should listen to our podcast.
There you go. It's funny you mentioned the World Baseball Classic. Imoo is a Japanese name, so I would. My late father is Japanese, so I was certainly cheering for Japan. And I didn't, but I don't know. Like I said, I understand the game, but I don't know a lot of the team and players. So when my son Sean told me, "Hey, you got to check out this Ohtani guy. He's probably gonna pitch sometime later in this game, and I said, pardon, like it was just so foreign to me. And then yes, I understand him versus Trout. I understand that Trout never, three whiffs. He never does that.
Yeah.
All to say, yes, brilliant theater. You're right, and it captured the baseball fans from around the world. That World Cup was fun. A little gimmicky when you had all the young guys from North America play on their own team.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that part. I
And
thought that was the gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah, and you had non-Swede. If you weren't from Sweden or Finland or Czechoslovakia or Russia, then you're just a whole continent team of Europe.
Yeah. Don't. Hey, well, how come we all have to be on the same team? Well, what about us young guys? Like, oh yeah, we're the youngsters. Like, yeah, all right. Someone needed to think a little longer on that one.
Yet, yeah, there's something fascinating, whether it's Olympic hockey, whether it's World Cup of hockey, whether it's Canada Cup for the oldies listening. There's something about that, and I don't know, man. Maybe it's going to take more of these things at the World Baseball Classic for the Bettman and the NHL and the PA to recognize that we are missing out on a good thing here, because yeah, they're always going to be the bottom of the big four, and they're probably passed in certain U.S. markets by NASCAR or horse racing or World Series of Poker, whatever. So yeah, exactly. So I think it's so easy for you and me to say this from behind our microphones. They just got to get over themselves, honestly, and go for it, because one good experience it can't get any worse. Look at the All-Star game. It's fun for like 5 minutes, and then it's like a travesty after that. Do something, stick your neck out, and I'm with you, man. I would love to see best on best. I don't care what you call it, just do it.
So I know you're of a certain age, and you remember the first lockout. And I'm sure you remember the NHLPA, whatever that tournament was in like Hamilton. Remember that? The 4-on-4 tournament, the charity tournament. Even if you could find a way to do, because like his camera cut out, that's okay. Even if you could find a way to do something like that, I mean, that would be kind of gimmicky, I think. And maybe that's like an every 2-year kind of thing where they have an NHLPA tournament that kind of goes in the middle. I don't know. At the same time, I do think they've been just so sporadic with this World Cup offering that they need to make that consistent. Maybe get out of the Olympics and get back to the Olympics being for amateur talent, which it is. And then you get back into a World Cup and make that your thing, but really own it. And we've been saying this, I think, the last one was what, 2013 or 2012, the last lockout? Somewhere around there.
Somewhere in there. After just after the Canucks made their run, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you've got this tournament, and I think you need to go back to what it was meant to be in a best on best. You can't have these hybrid, North America and Europe. Like, that's stupid. It is. I'm a fan of hockey, and I'm a fan of the odd gimmick that makes sense. I know some people liked it, but it wasn't what it needed to be. At the end of the day, you want a country that's like, you don't want to have Team Canada versus the North American Stars at the end. Like, come on, we all don't want that. You just don't. So you want a country versus country, or figure out a way that you can have it properly sanctioned with, like, I don't know, like, do you make it for the divisions again? Maybe you have a divisional team. Like, here's the best on best of it, like every division of the NHL, but you make that I don't know. I don't know how you make that work, but they have to find a way to get this back on the mainstream, because they are getting passed aside by, as much as I love baseball, is not an exciting sport. Like, it's exciting in the sense that a lot of cool things happen, but it's like 2.5 to 3 hours of just sitting there, and you can go to the bathroom, you can go make lunch, and you can do. I love baseball, and I would love to be able to get back to a game as soon as humanly possible. But I'm also aware that it doesn't have the excitement that hockey has, the grittiness of it and all those things. So I do think they need to find a way to get back to that, and hopefully they do soon. Anyway.
Yeah, and you hear stories of I think it was Mike Trout. I heard on Sportsnet, or someone said that was the most fun he's had over 10 days. So these guys wanted to be there, and that's going to be Ryan. That's going to have to be the fundamental mind shift here. Is shift in thinking is not worry about injury or insurance or contracts or whatever. Do you want to be there? Do you want to play for your country? And what does that mean to you? So baseball gets it right now, for sure.
I mean, make the prize worth it.
Yep. Yes.
Make the prize worth it. And I mean, hey, we all like stuff. We all like money.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's guys on those teams that, like, I don't know, make the purse ridiculous. Like, you look at golf, they had to adjust with the live tournament.
Yeah, bring all those guys over. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like that when the live golf league came out, PGA had to take notice because unfortunately it was a legit league. And now it is, and the PGA's had to up their purses. You're changing some of their structure because there was a legitimate threat, but there was also a legitimate offer on the other side. And I think there's going to be some guys, maybe they haven't earned that big contract yet, and they're on, Team Sweden or I mean, eventually Team Russia or whichever country, Finland, doesn't matter, Germany. Maybe there's a guy that hasn't earned that contract and they make it to the semifinals, and maybe there is a cash prize or something like that where you're thinking, you know what? If we get this far, like, I haven't got my big contract yet and I could use $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, make it worthwhile. I was listening to, we were talking about Scott Rintoul, his West Coast Express podcast. I'm sure you've heard it as well. Absolutely amazing, and I will continue to pump that out because I think it's what we've all been clamoring for. And when the salary cap came out, do you remember what the first ceiling was, Clay?
I don't.
$39 million was the ceiling.
Wow.
$39 million.
Wow. What year was that?
This was 2000. It was the 2005-2006 season.
Wow. Less than half of what it is right now. Wow.
$39 million. They couldn't even call up a goaltender back then because it was going to cost. They were going to lose someone. And it was going to cost them money. Like, that is unbelievable.
Oh, that's right. That's an Alex Auld story, right? Where he had to play 60 games or whatever.
Yeah. And now we're looking like, well, it's probably only going to go up $1 million to like 89 this year.
Yeah.
Oh, and the floor is probably like 50. Like, that's wild to think. So anyway, like, money talks. So
Yep.
Now, this was something I want to get into a little bit more of the reality side of things. Thomas Drance, I think this was about a week or two ago, and I'm pretty sure this was his article on The Athletic, mentioned about the Canucks' new competitive window, considering that they're essentially going for whatever they're going for right now. It looks like all signs would point to an OEL buyout, which is what it is. And they're hampered with that contract. And if they do buy him out, the first couple of years are team friendly as far as the reCaptcha payments or whatever that goes. So they kind of have to go for whatever they're going for right now. So I guess we look at it, Clay, and I think that in these first few years, like, how much of, first of all, like, next season is the soonest, how much of this team actually changes, and can they actually put like a 2-round playoff run in the next year or two together?
Ryan, I think they can, but so many things have to go right. Because I do think you can actually believe. Let's say Demko's fine, and he's shown that he's been fine. Let's say we're not worried about the goaltender, whether it's Martin or Seelovs or another veteran, a Delia-like veteran. So I'm not worried about the goaltending. You probably know where I'm going with this. I'm not worried about the forwards. We have so many wingers. We need a third line center. Like, I want Neil Zaman as my fourth center, not my third. And with no Horvat, you go Petey Miller, and you need someone. It's not Jarais, it's not Studnicka. You need, I think, Ratu still a couple years away. So I think you need that. But you have this bevy of wingers, and we can name them all, but we know, and this doesn't include McCabe and Pearson. Pearson might not play, but McCabe's still not playing. So we have all that, and all these guys in Abbotsford that are going to be knocking down the door. And then it's still the blue line. And I know there's a lot of talk about Ethan Bear. Do you re-sign him? Well, if you have Hronek and you have Myers, and you're not going to buy Myers out, you can pay Ethan Bear $2.5 to play on your third pairing. That doesn't make sense when you can do a Burrows or Breezeball or Gilson for 1/3 that. So I think you got to improve the D, but I do think, and it's so hard to say, first round, second round, whatever. But I think if a lot of things go right, better penalty kill, Demko healthy, club healthy, scoring from Petey and Miller and Kuzmenko, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, or whatever the thing is. Yeah, pretty much. Because I was predicting them.
Decade.
I was predicting to finish third this year, but I do think they could be a playoff team. But things do have to go right. But I agree in principle with Thomas Drance and that whole notion of that Hronik, we joked around about it right from the very start of the show. That Hronik deal showed that they weren't committed to a true rebuild, even though the small moves up to that actually showed that they were really nice moves. And then they did that one, which it wasn't a disaster. It's just the timing was questionable and what they gave up was questionable. But I quickly learned to put those things behind me and just focus on what's ahead. And to answer your question in a much shorter way, I do think they can be a playoff team, but a lot of things have to go right.
I think health is, usually that's the biggest one for any team to make any kind of a run, whether it's even making the playoffs or going all the way. I think if they get health, and I don't even know what health looks like for this Canucks team, because I mean, they're healthy right now, but how many times have I forgot? Oh yeah, Mikheyev and Pearson are not here. We haven't had Sutter for a year and a half already, which I mean, that's a whole other thing. There's a lot of, I mean, we looked at Hamonic. We've looked at, like, who else am I missing that's still injured?
Pullman, we didn't see all year.
Dr. Pullman, exactly. So there's guys that are part of this team that most of us have legitimately forgotten about because they just haven't been there. Demko was gone for a while. I think Quinn Hughes was injured this year, was he not? Or was that last year?
No, thank God he's only missed 2 games this year, 1 game this year. Yeah.
So I mean, JT Miller, like there's been all these things that have been going on, and we're trying to figure out, like, what are the Canucks, and go back to my little my funny little picture from before there. I mean, if they go into next season with this exact same team, there's some great positives to take from this. At the same time, they need to figure out on their end what they are, because I do not believe that this team, like, the goaltending's great. If Demko is anything like he's been since he's returned from injury, which I believe that is, again, we all hate using it, but screw it. Bubble Demko. Like, that's just his nickname. Call him, who cares, man? Embrace it. That's when he became a superstar to us. And I think if we get the Demko that we all seem to know back, which I believe he's here, aside from his work overload, I think that's the first part. We've got Hronik, we've got Quinn Hughes, Ethan Bear. Maybe there's a possibility that Luke Shen comes back next season as whatever, as a lower end D guy. He's going to have to make a little bit more because he's clearly proven that he's worth a ton, and we'll find out what he's like in the playoffs this year with Toronto. Yeah. But I do wonder what it's going to look like, because they need a few pieces to, at the very least, make the playoffs and be a legitimate playoff team. Not a contender, but a legitimate playoff team that is deserving of one of those top 8 spots. Because I don't think they're quite there yet, and they're proving they're teetering. It's just, again, that terrible start, and obviously they've gone through another year of wholesale changes from coaches to obviously Bo Horvat getting traded as well. Next season, if this is what they're embracing, a retool, then they need to embrace that there's a few parts that need to go, whether that is they find a suitor for Brock Besser, or they find a suitor for, I mean, maybe they trade away a Mikheyev because they realize when he was here, he was an absolute asset on the PK as well as his speed. They do have some pieces that are movable that have value. And I mean, as we both know, the NHL is pretty stupid when it comes to currency. So they look at things like, oh, well, we can change them. Like, no, it usually doesn't happen. But I'm all for it if somebody believes they can change X, Y, or Z from this current team. So I want to believe that things get better next season. I think they will. But I mean, whatever this season is, finish out the way it is. Like, I've been cheering for wins. I'm sure you have been as well. It's it is tough because there was an opportunity for a franchise changing player to come here, but that's never happened to the Canucks, and we've found ways to get around that. So maybe that's not in the cards for the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm okay with that. We seem to have some pretty decent players since then.
Exactly, and I think. Ryan, once you and I got over the fact that they weren't going to be a bottom 5 team because their average is simply way better than other teams' average. Now you flip it and you say, okay, it's pretty cool. Pettersson's race for 100 points. PD and Kuzmenko's race for 40 goals. how does Quinn Hughes continue to evolve as the best defenseman that's not going to get any Norris Trophy consideration this year because our team
Well,
sucked?
Erik Karlsson's out of his mind this year. So.
yeah.
Like no one saw Father Time rewinding itself. Like,
Totally.
welcome to Blockbuster. Did you remember to rewind that? Like, it doesn't make any sense that he's having like the year of his life, but which is great.
Sure.
Erik Karlsson doesn't suck. He just hasn't been well for a while. So
I'm with you. And then with Philip Hronek debuting with Aidan McDonough getting in on the weekend. So there's enough. We just rattled off 5 or 6 kind of stories that at least to use that word distract or at least keep our eye on. There's always something going on with this team. And maybe it'd be nice to have some normalcy, Ryan, for the last month of the season instead of what was happening in November, December. So we'll see.
Normalcy. I remember it well. I remember going to games when we were just like, how many goals are we going to win by? Like, the Sedins are going to score. Luongo's going to have a great game. Oh, I remember those days.
I remember those days too. Back in my day. Yeah.
And then I moved away and everything. Maybe it was me.
Gotta come back, man. Gotta come back.
I can't.
I got some tickets I can sell you.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. So, which actually leads into my next point. We're almost done here. I'm going to do it. We're going to a vibe check, if you will.
All right.
What's the vibe like right now at Canucks games? I haven't been, since last season when Ovechkin was going to be third. We missed it by a game, I think. Yes. And so that, which is great. But I mean, we've been watching all on TV and, things have been pretty cool. Skate jersey, some of the cool, tribute nights, this and that. But like, what's it been like in Rogers Arena for anybody that isn't necessarily living in Vancouver? Like, what's the vibe check?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's kind of what you expect for the big games, the Torontos of the world. The crowds are still pretty into it. Even the Vegas game last night. My daughter went, not me. It was, but you could tell that the crowds, especially after JT Miller scored his shorty, the penalty shot. There's So I think for the big games, and I was at the Montreal game back in November. That was crazy, that 7-6 victory. So I think the big teams, the big games, those are still a good vibe. But then, man, a Monday game against Nashville, a Wednesday game against Arizona, even tomorrow, as much as I want to see Philip Hronek, I'm not sure if he turns the page for 18,000 people. So to answer your question, Ryan, I think it's kind of what you expect as the Boudreau thing was winding down, as fans were understandably upset for him, although I still think it was the right move, but that's another conversation. You could tell that the crowd was so ready to turn on ownership and management, that because they were rooting for Boudreau. And poor Rick Tocchet, he hasn't done a thing wrong, and he's already getting booed. And Bruce, there it is, chance in his first game. But so I think now people have kind of have tuned into kind of what we talked about. They're not going to finish last. They're not going to intentionally tank. Their players are too good. So let's celebrate what those good players are doing. Let's keep an eye on next season, and let's just accept this, try and be entertained for these last 10 games. So I do think it's a bit of both. I think fans are smart in Vancouver. They're smart enough, Ryan, to understand what's happening. Then it's up to them how they decide to react from the game. But they're most frustrated, for sure, that I've heard the fans were, for some reason, when the Canucks were winning, when they should have been losing about a month ago, when they actually were on the cusp of the bottom 5, as we talked about.
I think that rightfully so. I think we were all a little bit upset. I mean, you can't help but be knowing that they had, as you said, they made the moves to get close enough to tanking, and they kind of admitted it in an interview as well.
Yeah, Rutherford said it.
Yeah. So I think we all kind of thought like, okay, they made this move, and they made this move, and they made this move. I think they finally understood what we've been asking, and then they just erased it all and got rid of 2 draft picks. And again, Philip Hronek may end up being a phenomenal player that we love and cherish, and he's a Ring of Honor player one day. Who knows? But right now, what we know is that we were this close to having a better than good chance at getting that top pick. Again, it is a lottery, and there are chances, and we've seen that Philly has been at the top of those in New Jersey, and sometimes it doesn't matter where you finish in the top 10. Sometimes, that one lottery ball falls the right way, and, your franchise changes. So it is what it is. But I appreciate that you've kind of given that, because like I said, a lot of us are not necessarily in Vancouver, and it's nice to know, like, I love going back. I don't care if the Canucks were going to get shelled. The last 2 games I saw, think, yeah, the last game was Ovechkin last year, and then the time before that was a couple years ago. I think it was in the Sedins last season, and they lost to San Jose on a Saturday night, and it was like a 3-2 game, but I think it was like the first most exciting game the team had played in like 2 months, and people are actually like, wow, that was actually a really good game. I know we lost, but it felt like great. So, fun can be had at Rogers Arena, and I mean, this team, our greatest success has been failure. So I think if we just embrace whatever it is currently, I mean, we don't control it. You and I don't control the Canucks. We don't get to control who's on the ice. We don't get to control who's in net. We don't control who they're going to trade away or who they're going to sign. So I think we can yell at clouds all we want, but at the end of the day, I mean, they're rocking a skate jersey. We've got one of the best defensemen. We've got one of the best, pure playmakers in the NHL, and Elias Pettersson. JT Miller's here, whether you like it or not, and he's not a bad hockey player.
No, not at all.
That's the cap hit and what he's going to be making next year, blah, blah, blah. I get it. It's ad nauseum. Let's get over those things and let's enjoy the Canucks. Final thing, Clay.
Yep.
This actually, I just saw this about an hour before we started, and we're going to finish on a high or low note, depending on how this goes. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and For All is releasing in April on Netflix. It is a movie. I don't know where you're at on your Power Rangers love. From when it first came out, I was a big fan as a young lad when it came out. I think I would have been in my probably 12 or 13-year-old age group whatever year that came out. Yeah. But I got a bone to pick. First of all, I'm sure you're aware, obviously, of the Power Rangers, but like, you're a bit older than me, not much.
How old are you?
I am 40 this year.
Okay, so I got 9 years on you. So yeah, I'll admit I know who they are. I know they're different colors, but I don't know anything about them because I was 21 at the time and trying to be a mature university student. Yeah.
You know what? Pokemon came out and people are still big fans of that. So I don't necessarily buy
That's
that.
fair.
So
That's fair.
So I watched the trailer because I needed to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I don't buy it, Clay. So first of all, they show the Green Ranger. Everybody knows that the Green Ranger, the Mr. Frank has passed. And so I don't know how they're going to make that work. Clearly, they're going to figure out some way. Obviously, when you've got a helmet and a spandex suit on, you can do whatever the heck you want until they take their helmets off. There's no Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger, which really it upsets me. I know apparently there was a second Pink Ranger that I missed. So I must have been a late teenager at that point. We're interested in actual girls and sports and those sorts of things. I didn't quite get that. And then like the original characters, the Blue Ranger and the Black Ranger, it's them now, and they're older than me and probably closer to your age. And yet, so they look old. You don't look old, Clay, but I'm saying they look old. They don't look young anymore. Let's put it that way. And yet they put everything on there, and maybe there's some other things that I'm missing out of the trailer, but they put the whole spandex suit and the helmets, and all of a sudden they're fighting like they were in the early 90s. And it doesn't quite compute with me. And then like the Zords, they're the dinosaur machines that combine to make the Megazord. They're all the same. They didn't even upgrade it. You've got 20 plus years to make this like the best reboot movie, and you're like, no, we're gonna keep it original, but we're gonna have it in high def or 4K. No. You gotta re-up. You gotta pass the cards out. You gotta get a new deck, and you gotta run with it. And last but not least, I didn't see Zordon, the big tube. I didn't see him in the trailer, which I mean, he's not really a great character, but like he's the guy that ran the show. It'd be like having a Batman without Alfred.
Right.
I don't buy
that's the first thing you said in the last 4 minutes that made sense to me. So, but what I will say this,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, answer me one question, then it'll help formulate my response.
Yes.
20 years ago or whatever, 25 years ago, when these guys were popular, was the whole notion of you'd see their face and then they don the mask, or
so they go from, it's interesting, and I'll have to send you a clip. So they go from their teenage selves. Oh, and by the way, like the area that they hung out, like this little cafeteria, it's the exact same one from the 90s. Like, didn't even bother to upgrade it. Like it, even like 90210 got some new stuff.
That's
so
true. Yeah.
all these reboots, at least they got some updated things. Like, no, we're gonna keep the really lame neon lighting and the the neon like mint and pink and green and orange. No, they kept it all the same. So
I just looked up Power Rangers cafeteria. I see it now. Yes.
Yeah, it's awful. So no, they would start out as their teenage selves. They'd get their little belt buckle, do the morphin time thing, and then magically lightning hits, and all of a sudden their suits are on. So so they would do that. Occasionally they took their helmets off.
Right.
But yeah, I just
okay, actually that makes a lot of sense now. That puts into context why we're worried about an original actor passing away or this person not being the original or
too many loose ends, basically.
Okay. Having said that, do you think then, or is it acknowledged that it's all stunt doubles doing all the?
I'm not stupid. I'm aware of this. Like, let's put all the cards on the table. I'm not an idiot. I'm fully aware that these are clearly different people in the suits, and I'm aware of how camera angles work. They can do whatever they want with the magic of movies and television.
So bottom line, are you going to go watch this thing?
Well, it's on Netflix. No way.
Oh,
I saw the trailer and I was upset, Clay. It ruined at least an 18th of my childhood. So,
okay, I'll take your word for it. I'll take the listeners' word for it. And I'll just keep my ear to the ground and on Twitter and see what people say about the show.
Yeah, if you find out it hits in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, then maybe give it a peek. Clay's in his head. He's like, seriously, we talked Canucks for like 58 minutes, and he brings up this garbage to end the show. Like, it's like, well, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it. Maybe never see you on Steve Dangle Podcast again.
No, we'll get you on again.
Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Clay, we're about at the end here. It's been an absolute blast having you on, talking Canucks, talking, basically a little bit of everything, a lot of pop culture, a lot of apparel today, which was I'm glad. Sometimes we need to get away from the reality, as we said. You're a busy guy. Most of the people that I follow know what's going on with you, but because in true fashion we do offer this space up, let everybody know what's going on with Clay. What's coming up? Is there like something cool that we need to know about? Just vamp for you got yourself a minute or whatever. Awesome. Like, just tell everybody what's going on, where they can find you. If there's something that we need to know about that we don't know about, go for it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ryan. And thanks to you and Ted for always being such great advocates for me and my channels as well. So I'm Canuck Clay, both here actually on YouTube and on Twitter. And with regards to my content creation, I have a YouTube channel, Canuck Clay. Would love for you guys to follow along there and do daily vlogs, mostly pregame, postgame, some analysis, some breakdown videos. But where I've really had a lot of fun, Ryan, in the past year is doing a nightly live stream. So 5 days a week. From Sunday to Thursday, I'm doing a late night show, 11 o'clock, except on Sundays where I start at 10:30 for an extended show. But yeah, 5 nights a week, I'm streaming and having a lot of fun. And then sometimes those are post-game recaps. Other times they're interviews. And most of the time it's just simply reading and reacting to comments and questions. But the one thing that I do have coming up almost near the end of the year is Sunday, April the 2nd. It's the Canucks actually hosting the Kings. So it's a home game. But I'll be hosting my next meetup. So it might be hard for you to get there, Rye, but for anyone that's in the Lower Mainland, I'll be sharing a lot about that on my socials over the next couple of weeks. But Sunday night, April the 2nd, we're gathering at Monkey 9 Brewing, one of my sponsors in Richmond, to watch the Canucks game and to celebrate this season, however you want to categorize it. So thank you for having me on here. Please give my regards to Ted and keep up the great work. I have a huge admiration, respect for what you guys do here.
So I do want to say both Ted and I have been on your Steve Dangle Network podcast. Game Over. Don't forget that, man. Like, don't forget. Like, you got a few bills to pay, I'm sure. So
I will say really quickly. Yeah, one out of every 3 games. So yes, I'm on Steve Dangle's podcast network, SDPN, a post game show called Game Over Vancouver, and I do a third of the season on there as well. Thank you, Ryan.
There you go. So we've both been on it. I saw Ted; he was on the last one. So of course I decided I'm going to throw YouTube on we all have big TVs now. used to be a big deal when we were younger. Now it's just like, oh, you only have a 55-inch. It's like the normal, it's like the 32 that we all grew up with. And I was like, put him on YouTube, took a picture, sent it to his wife. I'm like, he's on TV. He's on TV. We're still small town people. We enjoy the bright lights of the big city. So
That's awesome, man.
We
That's
do
awesome.
appreciate being on your show as well. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is a lot of fun to talk the Canucks. I think we all forget that sometimes, that it's a sport, it's entertainment, and we need something to complain about. We need something to celebrate. And I think it's a nice disconnect from everything else. And if we're going to complain in unison about something, that's a pretty good thing to complain about. So, Clay, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on the PP1 podcast. On behalf of Canuck Clay and Ryan, that's me. This is the PP1 podcast on Crier Media. I've already told you where you can watch us and find us, but in case you forget, I'll put in the podcast link. Peace out.